call the meeting to order. Those who care to, please stand for an opening prayer and pledge of allegiance. Mr. Cameron, if you would, please.
Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this day, and thank you for the sunshine. Thank you for all you do for us, and thank you for what you do for this city. And Lord, we just pray, God, for your wisdom and your guidance as we continue to lead. And Lord, I just pray, God, that you would just, we thank you for the public safety officials that are here tonight that we're going to recognize and honor, and for, Lord, just all that you do for us. Guide and direct us in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have several exciting things to do tonight, and then some typical business things. We have quite a few things on the agenda. So we will start with Mayor's announcements, and I'm going to ask Chief Compton to come to the podium for some Lifesaver Awards for our firefighters.
Thank you, Mayor. This is something we started several years ago, and it's a tradition I hope carries on for a number of years. It was October of last year when Station 1 responded to a medical call, and the crew was made up of Derek Barr, firefighter Matt Stuffelbeam, and Captain Lynn Morgan. While they were responding to the call, they got a report or come across the computer in the truck that their patient was down and was not breathing. They arrived and found the patient unconscious in the living room floor. Firefighter Stuffelbeam checked for a pulse. It was very weak and thready. Firefighter Barr and Captain Morgan started inserting an airway and breathing for the patient with a mask bag, or mask valve bag that we use. Shortly after that, Cox arrived on the scene. They were able to start an IV, get her hooked up to a heart monitor, and as they were loading her into the ambulance, she was trying to talk. So, it was a good day. So, wow, got them all packed in here, huh? Derek, Matt, Lynn Morgan. Matt, this is his first life save. Derek Barr, this is his second. And Lynn Morgan, this is his third. You're playing the odds. He's on duty tomorrow, and these two will be back Thursday.
All right.
So,
well, first off, let's give them a round of applause. Mr. Morgan, since you're here first, we'll do yours. 3 of them. Yeah. Awesome. How about right here, guys? Try to pull that down a little bit. Okay. All right. Thank you for everything that you do for our community. Matthew Stuffelbeam, sir, thank you for everything that you do for us. This is your number 1.
Yes.
That's awesome. Many more to come, hopefully.
Sure.
That means people are staying alive in the Republic. That's right. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. Derek Barr. Number 2.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you see it? You too. Where are we looking first?
Awesome.
Thank you for everything,
Sir.
We give him another round of applause.
step out front and take a picture with a group like we've done in the past.
Okay.
All of them.
We will be right back. We're going to come back in for the rest, right?
I don't want any part of it.
You can represent yourself.
Can, have, and will again.
get a message, I usually get the email that shows that it is. I got one before we started the session, the work session.
Yeah, when was it supposed to be?
Oh, that's split screen.
That is weird.
Huh.
Could be virtual
Okay, just a couple
reality,
more
isn't it?
announcements. Just a reminder that the citywide garage sale is April 20th, and a list of addresses are available from the Republic Chamber of Commerce. And we do that in advance of the second annual citywide cleanup, which takes place on April 27th. As a reminder, if anybody's watching on TV or out there that wants to do this, you need to have your items out by 7 a.m. on the 27th, so it's best to put it out on April 26th so people can come pick through it and find the stuff they want. 'Cause that happened a lot last year. Okay, we're going to move on to proclamations. Tonight we have Dan Patterson and Brandy Bartell. Dan Patterson is the Greene County Prosecuting Attorney, and Brandy Bartell is accepting on behalf of the Victims Center. And tonight the proclamation is National Crime Victims' Rights Week. And this is something that we did last year. I think it was the first year that we did that. And really important for our community. The bricks that are laid out there at the Victims Memorial, and just recognizing the things that can be done for those people when they're suffering, and their families, unfortunately, when people are lost. So we want to thank the prosecutor, Dan Patterson, for following those cases through and making sure that people get justice, and the support of the Victims Center. So I'll read the proclamation and then present. Whereas Americans are the victims of 20 million crimes each year affecting individuals and communities, and whereas reaching and serving all victims of crime is essential to supporting thriving communities, because those who receive holistic services and support are more likely to remain invested in their communities. And whereas dedicated victim service providers are working every day to meet the needs of crime victims, yet there are still too many victims without meaningful access to rights and services. And whereas engaging a broader array of healthcare providers, community leaders, faith organizations, educators, and businesses can provide new links between victims and services that improve their safety, healing, and access to justice. And whereas National Crime Victims' Rights Week provides an opportunity to recommit to ensuring that all victims of crime, especially those who are challenging to reach or serve, are afforded their rights and receive a trauma-informed response. And whereas the City of Republic is hereby dedicated to strengthening victims and survivors in the aftermath of crime, building resilience in our communities and our victim responders, and working for justice for all victims and survivors. Now therefore, I, Jeff Ussery, Mayor for the City of Republic and the State of Missouri, do hereby proclaim the week of April 7th through 13th, 2019 as Crime Victims' Rights Week, and express our sincere gratitude and appreciation for those community members, victim service providers, and criminal justice professionals who are committed to improving our response to all victims of crime, so they may find relevant assistance, support, justice, and peace. In testimony whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and affixed the seal of the City of Republic the 16th day of April 2019. So that was a mouthful there. Also, Chief Sells, we have a copy of this for you as well, for the contribution that the Republic Police Department for crime victims. So Ms. Bartell, ladies first.
Okay.
Get a clear shot. Thank you for everything.
Thank you so much.
All right. And if you'd like to say something.
I just wanted to publicly say thank you so much on behalf of the Victim Center and those who we are serving each and every day. Our vision is a community and communities where people can live free of violence and trauma. And of course, the first step in making a safer, more healthier, thriving community is to acknowledge that these things happen and to partner together to make sure that we can continue to support and seek justice and healing so that those individuals can go on to live healthier, happier lives and become thriving individuals. Thank you so much. It's so important that you were able to take a moment to recognize this important week for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'm honored to accept this on behalf of the prosecutor's office. It's really the young men and women who work for me who do the share of the work. And we couldn't do that work on behalf of victims without partners like the Victim Center in the private community. And that work also all starts with Chief Sells and the fine men and women of the Republic Police Department. So I'd like to thank you and also thank them for the work they do that enables us to do what we do.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. No. Thank you all. Thank you all. I had a feeling that Chief Sells would be like, nope, I do not want to say it. Okay. Moving on to citizen participation. Anyone who would like to speak about anything not on the agenda, please step to the podium, state your name and address, and you'll have 5 minutes. Anyone who speaks anything not on the agenda? Seeing none, citizen participation is closed. Moving on, need a motion and a second for approval of the consent agenda.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. On to Boards, Commission, Committee schedule of note City Council meeting. The next one will be May 7th, 2019. Second meeting in May will be held May 21st, 2019. And as of right now, Planning and Zoning is scheduled to meet May 13th, 2019. Moving on to old business, tabled items. We need a motion and a second to remove bill number 19-02 from the table.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0. It has been removed from the table. Now I'm going to, sorry, we're going to do this 3 times. So we need a motion and a second for the second reading of bill number 19-02.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries 7-0. Ms. Laura.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri approving the final plat of the trails at Valley Park Phase 1.
Thank you. Now I need a motion and a second for the final approval of bill number 19-02.
Motion. Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Haynes, if you would please give us a brief overview. It's been a while.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. What you have before you tonight is the final plat for the first phase of the trails at Valley Park. This phase consists of 12.34 acres and 30 residential lots. The water and sewer infrastructure systems are dedicated to the city on this final plat. The streets themselves will remain private. So the streets, the sidewalks, the entrance gates, and the street lights will be private infrastructure. The delay in the second reading was due to the maintenance bond. So we received the maintenance bond late yesterday. It has been reviewed and approved and signed by the city attorney. Therefore, we are ready for your action on this item.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns from council? Seeing none, roll call vote.
Councilmember Franklin.
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson.
Aye.
Councilmember Self.
Aye.
Councilmember Russell.
Aye.
Councilmember Jones. Councilmember Dyckman.
Aye.
Councilmember Rushiers.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0 and passes. Thank you. Moving on to other business. Have I gotten out of order here? I don't believe I have. Is that right? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to make sure I didn't get it out of order. Moving on to other business, I need a motion and a second. I'm sorry, resolution number 19-R-09. A resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, declaring the results of the April 2nd, 2019 municipal election. I need a motion and a second.
Motion. Second.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We will move into, basically what this is our county clerk has already certified the results of the election, and now it is for us to declare the results of those election results. And rather than read every bit of what was on here, we all voted on it, so we know what was there. I'm going to paraphrase what happened. Councilmember 1, Brandon Self, won that seat. Councilmember Ward 2, Jerry Poole, won that seat. Councilmember Ward 3, Matt Russell and John Jones won those seats, with Matt Russell a 2-year term and John Jones a 1-year term. Councilmember Ward 4 would be Mr. Dyckman. Out of the 10 questions beyond that, for the charter revision and the sales tax, the only ones that failed were question 1, question 4, and I know there was one more. No, question 1 and question 4. So all other amendments to the charter were approved and passed. So with that, are there any questions, comments, or concerns? Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 7-0, and those election results are declared. Now we move on to swearing in of elected officials, which would again be Brandon Self, Ward 1, Jerry Poole, Ward 2, Matt Russell and John Jones, Ward 3, and James Dyckman, Ward 4. For that, I will ask you all to come in here to the center, and Ms. Burbridge will do the swearing in.
Most hands from the front.
We get 5 of us. You raise your right hand, and when I say blank, please fill your name with blank. I blank
I, James Dyckman,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I possess all the qualifications
that I possess all the qualifications
prescribed for my office by law,
prescribed by my office by law,
that I will support the Constitution
that I will support the Constitution
of the United States
of the United States
and of the state of Missouri,
and the state of Missouri,
the provisions of all laws
provisions of all
of
laws
this state
of this state
affecting cities of this class,
affecting cities of this class,
and the ordinances
and the ordinances
of the City of Republic,
of the City of Republic,
and that I will faithfully
and I will faithfully
demean myself in office,
demean myself in office,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations. 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 Thank you.
All right.
I thought she was going to leave.
Just getting ready to ask if she'd like to join us. All right, Ms. Poole is now seated. And we are ready. At this point, we will move on to an election of Mayor Pro Tem, and I will open it up to the council for any nominations.
I'll nominate Matt Russell. I'll second it.
Okay, I have a nomination for Mr. Matthew Russell and 2 seconds. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. One of the best things you can do is vote for yourself. congratulations, Mr. Russell, on being Mayor Pro Tem, and I want to take the opportunity to thank Mr. Brashears for all of the years he's been Mayor Pro Tem and filling in at a moment's notice and never hesitating to do it. I know it's different, you know, wherever you, if you sit over there, you sit over here. It's just different, and I appreciate everything that you've done for us and helped us out there. So, thank you.
You sure did jump in off of
Yeah, I did. And I'll make sure I miss the next meeting.
Gee, thanks.
So, here we go. Get you started. Okay, moving on to new business. Need a motion and a second for the first reading of bill number 19-05.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion carries 8-0. Ms. Laura.
An ordinance of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, amending the municipal code of the City of Republic, Missouri, Chapter 235, Solid Waste Management, by amending Section 235.010, definitions, and adding Section 235.020, yard waste disposal site.
Thank you. Mr. Nelson.
Good evening. We've been operating a yard waste collection site out at the, I guess, near the wastewater treatment plant for a while. Recently, we had some issues with the weather. The ground got a little bit unstable, so we had some folks get stuck, and we ended up closing that collection site for a while. And what that brought to light was there was no place for an official policy or rules for the operation of that site. So this is amending the code to align itself with MDNR regulations for burning and collecting yard waste. As of the 8th, we reopened the yard collection site, and we actually manned the facility, which is something we haven't done in the past. We've got a person out there to verify residency of those using the site, and just for information purposes, since then, roughly 8 days, we've had 226 people drop yard waste there so far. So pretty popular this time of year. We're going to continue with the schedule Monday through Friday for now until the season slows down, and then we're probably going to go back to the original operating hours. We just don't have the staff to run that full time.
Any questions, comments, concerns from council for this first read? I have a question you may not have the answer to. Since you've manned it, do you have any idea, were there a lot of people that we turned away that didn't live in the city or that were commercial?
There was a few non-residents, I would say less than a half dozen.
Okay.
And then commercial, probably the same, and then it's tailed off quite a bit since I think the word got out that we were manning the facility.
Right.
Normally, in the past, we were open the first Saturday of the month, but the gate's always open, so people were using it most of the time. So when we started manning it, kind of reinforced the rules that we're trying to abide by.
Good. Okay, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, remember this is a first read. If you have any, please get with Mr. Nelson before the next meeting. Thank you, sir. Moving on to other business, resolution number 19-R-10, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving a preliminary plat for Avila, a residential subdivision consisting of consisting of approximately 48.5 acres at 7012 West Farm Road 170. Need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Haynes.
Thank you, Mayor. What you have before you tonight is the preliminary plat for Avila. This was recently recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission last Monday. It has been reviewed by staff and found to be consistent with the comprehensive plan, the transportation plan, water and wastewater master plans, and the zoning code. There are a couple other items that I will point out. There are 2 known sinkholes or identified sinkholes on the property. The applicant has turned in, and it has been reviewed by the city engineer and city staff, a preliminary sinkhole analysis. So we have found that their design is adequate to protect those sinkholes. They also have provided a stormwater detention facility on the particular parcel. Once we get to the construction infrastructure drawing stage, we'll review that for compliance with the full ordinance. That particular site, the stormwater detention, and then all open space and common areas will be maintained by a homeowners association. Staff does recommend the approval of the preliminary plat, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions, comments, or concerns from council? Just as a question, I don't know if you have the answer to this either, but is the homeowners association going to be operated by the homeowners, or is it going to be the developer operating the HOA?
It'll be established by the developer, but then it should be operated by each homeowners, I'm guessing. We may know more information about that once we get further along in the process towards final plotting.
Okay. Nothing else? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Resolution number 19-R-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving a preliminary plat for Charlotte's Manor, a residential subdivision consisting of approximately 9 acres at the northeast intersection of Kansas Avenue and West O'Neill Road. Need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Have a motion and a second. Ms. Haynes again, please.
Thank you, Mayor. So what you have before you for this preliminary plot is, again, 9 acres at the corner of Kansas Avenue and West O'Neill. It will be for 28 residential lots and medium-density residential. It has been reviewed by myself and the city engineer, along with other city staff, to be in compliance with the comprehensive plan, the transportation plan, water and wastewater master plans, and zoning code. A few things that I might point out about this particular subdivision: no known sinkholes. There are no known floodplain areas on this particular parcel. And stormwater, they have turned in a preliminary stormwater design indicating that they will be utilizing the stormwater detention facility at the subdivision to the north, which is Stanton Estates. When they get to the point of infrastructure design and the engineering behind that, we'll have a full report on that stormwater design, ensuring that we have compliance, that the existing facility can handle the additional 28 lots. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this subdivision.
Any questions from the council? Comments or concerns? Quiet group tonight. Okay, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? That motion also carries 8-0. Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to resolution number 19-R-12, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, authorizing the purchase of 2 dump trucks. Need a motion and a second. Motion.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Mr. Nelson.
Thank you. For 2019, the street department had budgeted for the purchase of a skid steer. And along the way through the year, Greene County offered to Republic a dump truck. We had purchased one from them last year. They reached out to us again, said, hey, we've got 2 more. They offered them for $25,000 each, or $50,000 for the 2. Comparatively, other models of a like year and like mileage were in the $60,000 to $70,000, maybe even $80,000 range. So they're really giving us a good deal. So we felt it more prudent to purchase the dump trucks this year than the skid steer. That's going to forward our operations as far as snow plowing and street paving in the future.
All right. Any questions, comments, or concerns from council? Mr. Jones?
What was the approved amount originally for the skid steer?
$60,000. And I should mention also that we're going to eliminate a couple of trucks from the fleet, replace them with these 2, so there'll be some money from the disposal of those 2 trucks.
Mr. Self?
Sounds like a wise move. Thanks for bringing it to us.
Anything else from the council? Mr. Russell?
Do we not need the skid steer anymore?
Our skid steer in the street department has been a problem in the past. The last repair has seemed to hold pretty well. I think we can make it another year.
Anything else? I think it's probably a good measure of your relationship or past relationship with Greene County that helps us get some of these things done too, so thank you. Anything else at all from council? Okay, seeing nothing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. And on to the last resolution, number 19-R-13, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Republic, Missouri, approving billing adjustments for sewer services. Need a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Parks.
Good evening. On April 5th, our utility billing department mailed out the Cycle 1 bills. They were mailed out, as most of you probably have heard by now, with a billing error on them. Out of 3,255 bills, 2,739 of the residential accounts were only charged the base sewer, 1,500 gallons, which is $15.93. We immediately started researching to see how this error could happen on the bills and how they went out. So turns out when we set up the Tyler software, there was an automatic switch placed inside to allow sewer averaging. As you know, we do sewer averaging for the April reads. It went 1 month early. But in addition to that, the month of April was programmed with a 0 rate, so the rate had not been entered into the coding. Then to complicate matters further, these bills would have never been mailed out, but there was a human error in the processes. We had not finished developing the checklists, checks and balances that we had in place when we had the Summit software, and so the bills went out without being checked. So immediately we remediated. We called Tyler Technologies and had them address the coding issues. They are currently working on making sure that the May sewer average, when it does go, is run correctly, and so they're going to do a test environment first. In addition, we sent staff to the City of Nixa's utilities in order to ensure that we weren't missing any vital processes, reports that we need to reconcile, because the last thing we need is to have an error of this nature happen again. In addition, we have scheduled next week to go to Willard, who's been running the Encode 10 for a while, have very good processes as well to make sure that we're just not missing anything. In addition, we've created a checklist for this billing process, since it's such a vital process to the city. I have attached it to the resolution so you can see that we now have more checks and balances in place than we ever have. We then have now our utility billing accountant, which we've never had in the past. We were able to hire in February, but now she will be doing a thorough review in addition to the other staff members in charge of it. And just to be safe going forward, we will divide up the final printed bills just to make sure nothing goes wrong in the final steps of the billing process, divide them up and go through them to look for any glaring errors. I know this has been a challenge to the city, this implementation we've been going through. I take responsibility on behalf of my department. For that, I'm truly sorry, but I am letting you know that we're doing everything we can to ensure going forward that we are not faced with this. We've had implementation challenges, but human error challenges as well. And so, due to this confusion to customers, I believe they've gone through enough. Some of them believe they had been double billed because of the longer billing cycles before. I felt, and staff felt as well, that if we went ahead and sent them a second bill, it would just lead to that confusion, to their beliefs that they're being double billed. And so that is why today we're bringing forward to you a recommendation to just go ahead and not bill for it, since it was our staff's error. I know you're wanting to know the total impact. We did have Tyler rebuild the packet to see what the difference would have been. And so total amount was $44,966. And this would come out of the sewer revenue. The water revenue was not impacted at all because it was billed correctly. And the question that everyone has on their mind, I'm sure, is how can the sewer fund afford that? Well, as you remember, we had budgeted an extra payoff on our loan payment. Unfortunately, that payment would be less, but nonetheless, it was an additional payment. And while it's not ideal, this is what we're bringing forward tonight.
Thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns from the council? Mr. Jones?
I've seen the reports of this on social media primarily, and had a couple of phone calls about it. And concerns is just availability or access to someone to explain what's going on. And again, more hearsay that there wasn't someone available, they couldn't get in touch with someone, or I left messages and never got back with. Is something being done, or has something been done to make sure that citizens do have that person they can speak to when they call in?
We do have the phone lines. The phone lines have been a challenge through this, and as you know, we are short staff. We're doing everything we can. We've actually set into place a situation where at noon we're supposed to log in to check the voicemails and try to call people back. It does become a challenge on, like, for example, water shutoff day. Today, when we have a lot of people coming in, the priority is getting people's service back into order. We've tried doing a hunting line where it forwards to a cell phone, but the issue we ran into with that was that you weren't able to retrieve the voicemail messages. So it is something that we're still trying to work through. But I will be working in my utility. I'm going to step away from the finance desk for the next couple of weeks to ensure I get things, help them with processes. And that's one of the things I am going to look into, because I thought it was getting better. But if you're saying that you're still hearing reports, then I will definitely research to make sure that we are doing what I think we were doing.
Okay. Right.
So thank you for bringing it to my attention. I will research it.
Mr. Russell?
So the amounts that people were not charged ranged from 78 cents to $86,
Yes.
right?
Correct.
So say we go forward with this plan, we approve this next month, when they do get their bills and all of a sudden it's $86 more or $50 more, how much public outcry are we expecting from that? And is there a plan in place to educate the public about what's gone on and how we're fixing it? What's the plan?
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. I forgot to mention that we will send out to the customers who are affected a letter explaining what happened, but that they will not be charged. So if this is approved, I will send that out hopefully by the end of tomorrow, because I know that will be confusion if they had such a smaller, a smaller bill, and then next month is their normal bill. We will send out some kind of communication in the form of a letter outlining what had happened. So, but I do know that not everyone always reads their letter, and I do anticipate more phone calls because of the situation next month. So.
Any other questions? Well, I understand it's a problem, but it also takes courage to stand up there and own it. So that's something I think the city can pride itself on, is that we didn't dig our heels in the sand and say, well, we're going to bill them anyway. We found creative ways to make it right and not affect the citizens for a mistake we made. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
You all have any other questions, anybody?
Was it, what, 2,000 and some odd that were affected?
Yes. It was 2,739 residential accounts. The commercial accounts were not affected because they did have a rate code that was built in correctly.
Is it sorry?
No, go ahead, Mr. Russell.
Is it the computer people that were supposed to put the code in, or was it like just an overlooked thing by the staff? Or?
No, the programming was all done by Tyler Technologies. On that side, that was not one of our staff errors. In fact, it was supposed to be a simple code, but what was done was they actually built in a code for each month specific, and that's why it ran fine up until April, and then something triggered the April code and it was missing. So they fixed that, they remediated that. I made them prove it last week by doing a test, but they still weren't able to completely do the sewer average. So
Any way we can make them pay for it?
that is something that I would probably need legal assistance with, but yes, we've discussed contacting them about that. So,
Sure.
So what we discussed was, that's an option that definitely was already brought upon, but for us to move forward with a decision, which was presented, was that I wanted to get a resolution in front of the council to address this, then we would deal with the potential for recovery after the fact. But I do believe there's enough culpability there. But what was missed is just checking the bills on our side, so it's two-sided, but yeah, that's definitely a path we're going to take.
And at the end of the day, because we're removing an extra debt payment, basically, the budget we still stay within the constraints of our budget, right?
correct. We'll just not make as much of that additional payment on the SRF 1999 loan repayment that we were going to try to pay off early this year.
Okay.
We'll still try to pay it off.
Okay, anything else from council? Okay, seeing nothing, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries 8-0. Thank you, Ms. Parks. Moving on to reports from staff, Mr. Cameron.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Maybe I'll echo what the mayor just said. I know it was difficult. I was out and come back and deliver that message. It stung, but at the same time, I appreciate the fact that we're quick to own it and to get after it, and we'll move past it. But I appreciate that you're putting your stuff into play to get after. I thought you presented it very well. Garrett, I thought you did a fantastic job, you and your team. We've talked about the comprehensive plan since the day I arrived, and you had a vision for how you thought it should go. That's even been challenged. I've had site selectors and people challenge the way that we're even going about our own comprehensive plan. And what I love about our values and where we're going as a city about being bold is we're not too concerned about what the status quo is of how those things are done. And it's been a challenge because it's hard for me. I'm one of those that I want delivery now. And so over a year, it's just been amazing to see the product and be patient and watch that product come to fruition, to see all those graphs, to show you that what information and data we have that's guiding our decisions. You can't manage what you can't measure. We can actually measure these things now, market those things. And I think the one thing that Garrett continuously mentions, and we had the joint work session together that we have got to consistently be working on, is we've got to protect the transportation grid. Because most likely, you can get anywhere that we want to go, but the second we start throwing up traffic lights in and around our community just to facilitate one or two developments here or there, we are going to make ourselves very, very unattractive for people that want to live and reside in our community, just from the standpoint of transportation. But I appreciate and applaud the boldness that it takes to bring those messages forward. That stuff will spin you out if you sit there and look enough at those graphs long enough. But that was just very well put together. You guys have done a fantastic job. I love the SOAR logo. I think all the planning and the marketing and just the messaging that you're putting that together. But I love that you're bringing the community into it. It's not just about something that's yours. And I also appreciate that you mentioned in your presentation that it was not necessarily about keeping your job, but rather doing your job. I love that. It's kind of one of my own mantras that I love to use. It says, I'm going to put together something that's about the community, not about my self-preservation. I think that's what I love about the team. I was so proud watching you present, but I was thinking about our entire team that we have as a city, just how much they're invested in doing the right thing. And it's just about making sure we deliver a quality product. And I think if you just look around and see what was in that presentation, the city's in good hands. The future is in good hands. And I think that what drives our decisions, I thought about that presentation as almost like the city charter. And just thinking, if we could create a document that somehow would keep a lot of the external influences that negatively affect the growth and development of a community and stick to that policy, I think we're going to be in very good hands. So I look forward to working on some sort of discussion of how we can memorialize that and put some teeth to it a little bit stronger so that just changes don't affect it. We stay on course to do that. So job well done. And lastly, I want to thank the community for the vote last week. It's great for our community to get out and see people voting and supporting just their right to get out and vote. So I appreciate that. Welcome to the members that were here, to Mrs. Poole, welcome aboard again. We're glad to have you. But just thank you to the community for getting out and voting. And we heard what you had to say, and we'll just continue to move forward. But congratulations to all the public safety officials that were awarded tonight. I think it's awesome that we as a community recognize their service and what they've done. I think sometimes it just gets overlooked. That's just what they do. And I appreciate that we take the time to do that. So, again, it's just a privilege to lead this city and be a part of what we're doing. The best is yet to come. I'm completely convinced of that. The things that we got coming up, the agendas are getting ready to get a little bit longer. I suspect we got more development that's coming your way. I know it's, we've kind of gotten through this without having a bunch of agenda items, but I foresee they're coming. So enjoy it while it was slow a little bit. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I also want to congratulate the council and welcome Ms. Poole back to the city council. And also the citizens who got out and voted on April 2nd, that tax failed, but the need never went away. It hasn't gone away, and it's not going to go away. So we've got to find solutions to those problems, because we don't want all of these people who got up here and presented today and have an effect on our community that you all are our future. It's not us sitting up here. You guys are the ones that do the work. So we've got to make sure we find ways to keep the quality of people that we have in this city. That doesn't just, it includes the fire department and it includes the police department, but it includes every department within the city. Because tonight is an example of having an A team, and we do. And that's why the city's poised for such growth. But we can't just neglect it. If we don't want something to happen, we need to find a solution. So one of the things is the fire department, 193 calls for service in the month of March. That is not going down much, and it's probably not going to. The police department, the month of March, 1,306 incidents. And already, as of April 11th, 435 incidents. So not only does that tell us that eventually we're going to need more people, that tells us that, again, the quality is very important for people who can multitask, think independently, and don't have to call a supervisor every time they need help. They can make their own decisions. I say that to say we've all got to find ways to save money or to think creatively to do things better so that we can free up money to take care of the people who work for us, because you all deserve it. One of the ways that we've come up with, or at least I guess I have to take ownership for this, you probably don't want anything to do with it right now, but nothing is solidified. It is in the very early stages, but I don't want you to hear this third hand as a council, for the most part, that I've been talking with some other mayors about the potential for having a regional municipal court. And what that could do potentially is cut overhead for these other courts, for these other cities, who would then pay an administrative fee to us for hosting their court. Now, I've talked to Mr. Eisen, I've talked to Mr. Cameron about this before I went out and spoke to them, and there is some interest to do that. The city court, municipal court, was never meant to be a moneymaker, but it was meant to be self-sufficient, and it is not. Because of State Bill 5, Senate Bill 5, there are a lot of things that we can't do as a city anymore that we need to do probably for fines, and to top that off, the Greene County Jail's full, not accepting municipal prisoners. So you can get a warrant in the City of Republic and basically just walk around, and you could get pulled over by the police and they're going to give you another court date. So there's not a whole lot of teeth behind what we're doing. So at this point, the municipal court costs us about $135,000 a year, which is a lot of money that could go to the general fund that could help take care of the people who work here. So that is some low-hanging fruit. So I'm really hopeful that we can get some support for this if it starts to gain traction. We would be charging an administrative fee to those other cities to host their court, and some of that would be based on docket size, or, there's a large number of things that have to go into it. It has to be cost-effective for them, or they're not going to do it. But at the same time, it needs to be beneficial to us, or we're not going to do it. So very early stages, there's going to be meetings to come, but we have to be creative. Like I just said, I can sit up here all day and say we need to fix this problem, but if I'm not providing a solution, I'm just talking. So we are trying in some ways. I mean, that's the best I can tell you. So hopefully this will all go forward, and we'll get there. We had do you know how many people we had at the Easter egg hunt? Approximate?
It's hard to say, several hundred. We had a good crowd.
A good crowd. I think everything we do with our parks, we have a really good crowd. So. And then the AMP opens, I lost it. Can you tell me when the AMP opens?
April 26th.
April 26th, okay. So everybody make sure you get out to the AMP. What time is that?
Activities start at 6 o'clock, 6 or 6:30.
Okay. And that's a really cool thing for us to have right there by our Veterans Memorial. So I'm going to quit being so long-winded and move on to council reports. Mr. Dyckman.
Well, again, as you all have said, is the SOAR 2040 program is great. I love seeing all the stuff. Garrett, all your team has just went over and above on it, which, as I always say, we have the best employees that we could ever ask for a city. They're here. They're helping. What we need to do as a council and as members, I feel, is that when we have a problem, such as the mayor said, that okay, our tax initiative failed, but we need to be willing to step up and give options how we can come up with funding. Not just be against something, but to talk of how we can do it without doing something else. And I think, overall, for the most part, we do. But it's something that's hard, you know, for us as a city to be able to fund things. And you know, we've got a tremendously great team, our police and fire. You know, they can look any day of the week and see what they can make if they went somewhere else. And we've done a lot to help them, but we've got a lot more we need to do to maintain them and to be able to hire the additional people that we need. Because one of the things that I came, you know, from down in northwest Arkansas, and we had a city down there that had a similar situation happen, that they didn't have enough manpower for the fire department. And ended up, the insurance rating commission changed their fire rating in the city, and most people was paying $300 to $500 a year more for their homeowners insurance because we didn't have enough people on site to maintain it. But welcome Jerry back to the council, and she's been a long-term member and benefit for us. Congratulations, Matt, on the mayor pro tem. Glad it's you, not me.
I don't know why he giggled when you said
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Russell.
First of all, Garrett, you were making eye contact with me a couple of different times because you saw the cold sweat that broke out on me when I was a few minutes late, and I apologize. Kids basketball game, so I got here late, and I was like, oh God, he's talking about like fluid. We've got to have a strategic plan. But you convinced me. Like through that presentation, I was like, I'm getting it now. So I appreciate your thoroughness, and I've been on other committees, I've been in other businesses that we've had those concrete shoes on our feet as we're drowning. And now that you put it that way, I was like, oh yeah, I kind of wish I would have thought of that before. So thank you for enlightening me to that. That was frightening and helpful all at the same time. Second thing, we have a thing at McCullough Elementary School that my boys go to with breakfast with books. And we had 2 police officers show up and read to a gaggle of elementary school kids, and it was great. They did a wonderful job. So thank you, Chief. Thank you for letting your officers do that. I think it's real. You know, my boys know that when you get scared, you look for people in uniforms. But not all kids know that. And when they see that in the community, that's exactly what I want to see. Now, they did make rookie mistakes in that they opened it up and said, does anyone have any questions? So there were questions like, how many push-ups can you do? Have you ever had to shoot somebody? You know, you don't do that to elementary. So a little bit more guidance there, but aside from that, they did great. And finally, I want to thank my friends and neighbors for the confidence they put in me by electing me. So that was pretty cool. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Pope.
Well, first of all, when I got this packet and read it, I thought of no longer than Laura's been here, what a good job she's doing.
Yes. Yep.
And I appreciate that, Laura. And I'm glad to be back on the team. I look forward to it. And of course, you know how I feel about the council. And I love working with all you people, and hope to continue for a while.
You almost put a time on it.
I'm not going to put a time on it.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Franklin.
That was a great presentation, the 2040 SOAR. The best truly is yet to come. Great job on everybody on the hard work. That's a great video. I wanted to thank all the citizens of Republic that got out and voted. We had a lot of great conversations the last couple of weeks, and I couldn't ask for anything better, and so I appreciate all of that. Congratulations to the returning council. Congratulations, Ms. Poole. Congratulations, Mr. Russell. And just like to wish everybody a great week.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Self.
I actually owe Garrett an apology. I thought he was joking about Facebook.
It's on there.
And then I see we have Facebook and Twitter for SOAR 2040. So, thank you. That was a great presentation. I talked to you there a little bit afterwards. that is, I mean, that is going to be something marketing wise that can just blow up for our city. And when you talk about the reach, that can go a long way. So, all that thought, all that preparation, I know that wasn't done just last night. So, thank you to you and your team and anyone who had any input on that. That was not a small piece that you put up there today. So, also, Mr. Stufflebeam, Mr. Barr, Mr. Morgan, I know it's nice to have trophies and everything, and I know that's not why they do that, but that's probably the coolest thing that happened all night, is when one person saves another person's life. There's nothing bigger than that. So, thank those guys again. That's all.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Wilson?
Oh, I don't have much tonight. Just enjoying the weather. I think that we have a very, very good crew for the city now. Things have improved immensely. I've been around a while, and I know what it was and what it is. So that's pretty much it.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Jones?
I would just like to echo what Matt had spoken about with the police officers at McCullough. I was recently walking my dog, and a young mother stopped me and recognized me as a council person. And, her first question was, "Do you ever have contact with the police?" Sure. But no, she brought that up and just thought that was really neat, and her kids just wouldn't stop talking about how great that was. So that's a great thing. Again, thank you, Chief Self, for that. And any positive injection in the community in that type of manner it carries its weight in gold throughout the community. So thank you for that. Quick question, and I should know the answer to this, and I don't. The work, I believe it was Liberty that was doing on Lynn, the substation improvements, is that complete now? Do we know, is that done?
I'm getting this shaking of the head, yes.
It is done. Okay, I thought it was, and I had someone ask me that.
I won't say that they won't ever come back.
Right.
Yes, what they were doing for closing the road, they're done.
Okay. All right. That same dog trip, I got asked that question as well. So, all right, thank you. That's all.
You didn't give up the other contact with the police?
No. More contact with the police.
All right, thank you, sir. Mr. Bashirs?
Okay. Hard to be original when you're last. You're an excellent job. Just curious, how many here, employee-wise, worked on this presentation? Besides you, of course. Raise your hands. Okay. Excellent job. When you put a video together like that, I do some video, and it takes a tremendous amount of time, and super job. Congratulations, Mr. Russell.
Why do you keep smiling at me like that?
Go home and leave tonight, okay? You'll enjoy signing the thousands of checks.
Is it too late to change my vote?
Before you have a stamp, you have to sign the first 1,000.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, congratulations, Mrs. Poole. Good to have you back. That's all I have.
I think it actually goes, you have to sign the first 1,000, and you have to stamp the next 1,000, and then you can do it online.
Then you do it online.
So you just got 2,000.
That's how
no problem.
No problem.
The stamps go quick. We used to do. All right. Well, if there's nothing else, I know everybody wants to hear this. We will ask to move into executive session. No further action other than announcing adjournment by the mayor shall take place after an executive session that is scheduled as the last matter on the agenda, unless otherwise stated on the agenda or as allowed per RSMO 610.02. Tonight, we will be covering RSMO 610.021.1, pending and/or potential litigation, which is a closed session, closed vote, and a closed record. I have a motion and a second to go into executive session.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Roll call vote.
Councilmember Poole?
Aye.
Councilmember Russell?
Aye.
Councilmember Jones?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilson?
Aye.
Councilmember Franklin?
Aye.
Councilmember Bashirs?
Aye.
Councilmember Dyckman?
Aye.
Councilmember Self?
Aye.
Motion carries 8-0. We will take a 5-minute recess and return here for executive session. Thank you all for coming. I thought you could just skip in there and over there.
Yeah, well.
This way you have the first meeting.
Over here.
I saw, it's your shirt.
It was